In this part of the course, we will start texturing our terrain with grass, rock, and snow. With the terrain selected in the hierarchy, open up the drop-down menu and go to Paint Texture. To paint some textures, we will need what is called terrain layers, but if you try to add a layer, you will see that we have no available layers. To fix this, we need to go to Window and then Package Manager. Make sure that from Sources Unity Registry is selected, and we will search for Terrain Tools. We will need to install this. When it is done installing, you will get these options. Where it says download asset samples from Asset Store, we will need to click this as well. This will take you to the Unity Asset Store for this terrain sample asset pack. It is free and made by Unity Technologies. It will say add to your account or download or whatever. But since I have already added this asset pack to my account, it just says open in Unity. So I will click that, open in Unity Editor. And here I have the terrain sample asset pack. I will import it to my project. It will also need a few dependencies. So just click install/upgrade on this pop-up. We will then need to import all of these assets from the terrain sample asset pack. And with all that finally downloaded and imported, we can close out the package manager and head back into Unity. Now there will be some new things. If you select your terrain now in the hierarchy, you will see a drop-down menu has gotten a few new things like erosion and sculpt. Before, when you raised your terrain and you needed to lower it back down, you needed to hold left shift, but for some reason, Unity chose to change this when importing the Terrain Tools asset package, so that you now need to hold down left control. However, we can now go to the Paint Texture section and click Add Layer. If you downloaded and imported all of the things correctly, you should see this selection of layers available. For the first one, we can just try to add this grass layer, and you can see we have now added a texture to our terrain, but it does look a bit too smooth, like not very textured. You can see if you zoom in, it does have some texture, but it seems all a bit too smooth when you look at it from a distance. We can change this, however, by opening up the layer properties. Here you can see the tiling settings. Tiling basically defines the size of the distance before you would have a texture repeat itself. So by setting this to something like 30 by 30, you can see we get a completely different texture here. And something most layers also come with is these maps, like a diffuse map, a normal map, and a mask map. Now, what are these different maps? Well, the diffuse map is basically just the image we're trying to show, while the normal map uses RGB values to indicate which direction a texture is facing and how the light should hit that surface. Because the thing about this texture is that it's actually flat. But using the normal map, it gives these little bumps and notches to make it look like this is just not a plain surface, even though it is. And the third map, the mask map, is just a way to mask RGB values to give each texture a slightly different look. But now that we finally have a textured terrain, we can go ahead and add other textures as well. So you can go here and add another layer. This, I think I will use this muddy terrain layer. And now I can use my brush to kind of create this dirt path, dirt road, whatever you might call it. And of course, you can also switch between these different brushes to give your paths a different look. Now, for instance, if you didn't want the path to be as visible, you could use this brush to give it more this kind of threaded out look. And we can also add another layer, in fact. Let's try the snow terrain layer to give our mountains this snowy peak. We can go ahead and paint our mountains over here. The brush might be a bit too strong, so I will set down the strength a bit. That seems a bit better. So yeah, from here you can basically add all of the layers you want and texture and shape your terrain however you want. And that is actually your challenge for this video. Go ahead and texture your terrain. Remember to try out the different brushes and mess with the properties of these brushes and the different layers. Pause the video now, give it a good go, and then come back to the video to see how I've textured my terrain. So I think the first thing I will actually like to do is to create kind of a mountain range over here in the corner. I won't spend too much time on it. I will just make it as I go. Fill out these empty spaces around the mountain range. And now that I've done that, I will go to Paint Texture and I will add a new layer. I think I will use this rock terrain here and just paint over this grass texture like this. Make sure to get all the way around it. Make sure to paint the sides here all around the world as well. And with that little change in color, I think our world is already starting to look a lot better. The next thing I will add is the snow terrain layer. Increase the strength, decrease the size. I'll add like this snowy peak to our mountain top. I think that looks pretty cool. Just paint this back over, go back to the muddy terrain layer. I think I'll use something like this brush perhaps. That looks pretty good. So maybe I should just decrease the brush size a bit. And I was thinking this is just more for an outlay. We won't necessarily leave the texture like this. But I was thinking next to the like stone mountain hills around this area right here is where our rocks should be placed. So there can be a path down to where you can mine your rocks. And that path can go from like here, and then maybe over here you will get to like some sort of forest. And maybe the player will just start right around here in the game, around this dirt patch. And here you can go out to some kind of weaponsmith. And right over here, there will be an NPC giving you the quest further in the game. I know these like dirt paths I've created now looks very, very ugly, but this is just more to make like an outline of the game and where we need to place the different stuff. But for now, that is it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next one.